Hey guys, and welcome to my marketplace guide. I think at this point I am the go-to marketplace guy whenever someone wants to learn how to take advantage of the market, but as I get more questions about the basics, I realize I haven't made an actual guide. I went straight into the tutorials. So in this guide, I'll break down what the marketplace is, how to use it, and the 3 main techniques I use to make my Flux. So to even start using the marketplace, you must be at least Master Rank 10. If you need a quick guide on the fastest way to gain mastery, you can click the card in the top right corner. Once you hit Master Rank 10, you will start out with 1 marketplace slot. To expand to more slots, you must either purchase them with 200 credits or 2,500 qubits. In total, there are 18 slots available in the marketplace. I would highly recommend to spend most, if not all, your starting qubits on marketplace slots until you reach at least 10 slots. Anything after that is dependent on how active you are on the market. So the first of the main methods of using the marketplace would be flipping. Flipping is the most basic method of using the market. It can be started as early as 10k Flux. Flipping is when you purchase an item that is either undercutting the next or is mispriced. An example would be purchasing a sugar skull for 78,000 and the next one up is 88,000, giving you a 10,000 profit. Flipping is a great starting method and is also great for when you are doing other things like leveling or farming, or are about to go to sleep, as it requires little to no effort at all in terms of watching the market. Also, as a quick tip, never undercut by more than a Flux. You aren't selling the item faster by undercutting the lowest price by any more than a Flux, and you are also intentionally lowering the price of the item, losing yourself Flux. After all, that is what this entire method is revolving around. The next method of using the marketplace would be manipulation. Manipulation is the most active form of playing the market and requires a lot of time and attention in watching the market. You can start manipulating at around 100k Flux and involves purchasing common or crafting materials from its lowest price and rising it intentionally to make a profit. An example would be to purchase Somber Souls starting at 17 Flux each and rising them to 25 Flux each, meaning you must purchase all of the items posted for below 25 Flux each and have 100% attention to the market, purchasing any new seller that posts for below 25 Flux each. This method requires knowledge of the item's average price, at least an hour of time dedicated to keeping the market tab up, and enough Flux to make sure you can afford anyone that could possibly undercut you. However, it is also the fastest way to make Flux in the entire game, and is how I made millions a week at around 150k plus Flux an hour. There is also a lot to say about this method. However, I will give as many tips as possible without going too in depth, as my marketplace series is already dedicated to this method. So tip number 1 would be to look into the market ahead of time. Look at how many pages an item is posted at a certain price. If there are 10 pages of Radiant Shards posted for 3.3 Flux each, that market is not going anywhere anytime soon and should be left alone. Tip number 2 would be to always do a test stack to see if the marketplace has any demand. Buy the cheapest stack available first and post it for the next price. So if the lowest Wild Cupcake stack is 17 Flux each and the next one is 19 Flux, purchase the 17 Flux and sell it for the 19 Flux stack and see how long it takes to sell. If it doesn't sell within 20 minutes, the item has no demand, and if you were to raise the price, you would be stuck with 10,000 Wild Cupcakes that won't sell. Tip number 3 would be to never purchase an item within the thousandth of a Flux when it comes to common items. An example is that you are keeping the price of Radiant Shards at 3.8 Flux each. Someone undercuts you and posts their shards for 3.7 Flux. You would purchase them. However, if they post them for 3.71 to 3.79, you will leave them up until someone else comes in and purchases them, as the profit margin is too low to bother with, and you will only cause a decline in the market due to an undercutting war. Just think, you have to purchase all of that person's Radiant Shards while making no Flux out of them, and they might have more shards than you can afford, which means you're going to lose Flux on all of your shards that you have already in your inventory and on the marketplace. And finally, tip number 4, being more just a heads up than a tip, is that the more Flux you have, the more Flux you will make. You won't be making 150k Flux an hour starting out with 100k Flux. As a general idea, you'll be making about half of what you are using to flip within the hour. So if you're using 100k to flip with, you should be making around 40 to 50k an hour. However, when you get to around 300k, you'll be making around 100 to 150k an hour, and it usually caps around there. Even when I flip with 600k, I still make around 150k Flux an hour. However, that is only what I can sell within the hour. When I have 600k, I am able to continually keep the market high, as well as my stock, and flip for hours without stopping my profits. So let's finally move on to the last method, which would be investing. Investing isn't as complex as manipulation. However, you do not want to start investing until you have around 1 million to 2 million Flux, as it involves leaving your Flux in items rather than usable Flux for weeks at a time, which you could be using to manipulate instead, making you more Flux over those weeks than you would be investing. With that being said, however, investing still has its place, as you can't use 1 million Flux of manipulating in any given hour unless you plan to own every single Radiant Shard in the game, which is why at around 1 million, you will have Flux sitting in your stash doing nothing, and that is the Flux you'll be using to invest. Investing involves purchasing an item at its lowest point in its fluctuation and selling it once the prices have risen. The most common example would be Chaos Chest rares. This week, Shock is the top loot and it's priced around 35k. The week before it was in the Chaos Chest rotation, it was worth around 90k Flux, meaning if you were to purchase some Shocks now and wait until a week after it has left the Chaos rotation, it will be priced for a much higher price due to not being available anymore, and you could possibly double all of your Flux that you have invested. Another example would be items affected by game updates and changes. For example, Pearls of Wisdoms, which were recently changed to become a rare drop rather than an item purchased from an NPC. Before the update, you were able to purchase a pearl for 1k Flux at the vendor. After the update made them rare drops, the price shot up to 9k Flux each, meaning if you had invested into pearls before the change, you would have multiplied all your Flux invested by 9 times. That is an unbelievable amount of profit. Just think if you had 1 million Flux, you would have come out with 9 million Flux, which is 8 million Flux with zero effort at all. All you had to do was wait a week. So as you can see, knowing upcoming changes can make you insane profits. And that's pretty much it. The market isn't a one-answer-fits-all type method. As you can see, each method is completely different from one another, and each has their own time and place to be the most effective. Just because you pass 1 million Flux doesn't mean you stop flipping or manipulating. In fact, at 1 million Flux, you will be working a combination of all 3 methods at the same time to get the most Flux out of the market as you can. Remember, I do have an entire series where I take a fresh account and make 1 million Flux by just using the market, so make sure to stay tuned for more episodes of that series, or if you are new to the channel, make sure to go back and start from the beginning to see how that account has made its Flux so far. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, and I'll see you guys next time.